Hey up everybody, my name is Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence. Now I've not uploaded for about 6 months now, and I felt quite bad about that, and I've been wanting to come back for a long time, and I've just not had the energy to do so. And I thought in this video I would talk a little bit about my attempts to get back into making these videos, because I think when you look at YouTubers or anyone that's sort of a public figure in that kind of way, at least I sort of almost deify people and make them out like they're larger than human, they're larger than life, and that they don't have the same sort of worries and qualms that the average person does. And even now that I am, you know, a YouTuber, some kind of public figure, I mean, I get recognized in the street sometimes and stuff like that. And I imagine some people probably think about me the way that I think about other people. I look at myself and I go, I'm still the same person underneath. And it makes me realize that it doesn't matter how famous you get, there's still that same person underneath you, you know? I mean, look at, say, Amy Winehouse, you know? No amount of fame could make her, you know, mentally well, you know what I mean? So what I'm sort of getting at is, for the past 6 months, I've been trying to make videos. I've made a start on a lot of projects, and they've all kind of fell apart, which is what tends to happen with the average creative. I've noticed a lot of creatives like me will start projects again and again and then move on to a new project because they've over complicated it in their minds and made it like it's larger than it actually is, when really it's not that big a deal. You know, you're not making the Odyssey, you're not directing some giant $200 million blockbuster, you're not trying to dedicate yourself to years of work and all of this sort of stuff. You're trying to make a bit of art that tells some kind of message that's relevant to you and what you want to say. And I think the best way of doing that is to do it efficiently, so that you get the idea out in its rawest form, rather than sitting there fiddling away at it, whittling away, just trying to perfect it. I mean, all of my favorite videos that I've done here have been the ones where I've just sort of sat down and off the cuff just kind of spoken. You know, all of my favorite songs that I've made are the ones that I did in one take. All of my favorite bits of poetry that I've written have been the ones where I've, you know, been in a bit of a bad state and I've just sat there and just, and then the whole poem comes out. And then there's other times when I'll sit there and I'll go through every single line, trying to perfect everything, making sure that it, you know, it's as dense as possible, and that every line adds to the story, adds to the message, adds to the theme, you know. And after a certain point, I realized that that doesn't work. It doesn't help you. If you sit there and overcomplicate these things in your mind, they are never going to get done. And ultimately, I think it's better that you get something done than to sit there and do nothing whilst making this grandiose idea in your own head. Like lately, I've been trying to work on this album, this prog rock album called The Pilgrimage, which is, it's a few different long sort of suites set in this fantasy world that I've been creating for the past few months. I've been really enjoying making this fantasy world, actually. It started off as a bit of a rip-off of Dark Souls, and as time has gone on, it's kind of become its own thing. So the idea is that at the center of the world, there is the world candle, which is essentially the sun. So the flicker of the flame at the top of this world candle is the sun, right? So imagine a giant candle, I'm talking like 500 miles tall, like 50 miles across sort of thing, that has a giant mountain as its cradle, right? And that it digs down into the fucking underworld. That's how big this candle is. That ignites all of reality, and all within the flame and the warmth of this candle is reality, right? And outside of that is an endless void of nothingness, right? And I've made all these little stories. I've got the single creator at the start of it, and the wars that came out of the subjects that he created, and then, you know, the new brutalities and regimes that came out of those things, and all the wars and all the timelines that have been going on throughout generations, all this sort of stuff. I've been writing stories about it, and I've realized I've over-deified this album in my head. I'm picturing this perfect bloody thing that goes from beginning to end. Every single part is absolutely perfect. And then I look at some of my favorite albums and I think, are they perfect all the way through? I mean, my favorite album, I'd say at the moment, is Train of Thought by Dream Theater, and it's not a perfect album. I mean, the transition between As I Am and This Dying Soul is just stupid. The transition between Stream of Consciousness and In the Name of God is also quite stupid. There's bits in Honour My Father where I think, You didn't need that extra guitar solo, and it's very rare for me to say something like that. You don't need this extra guitar solo. You could have just gone back into the verse at this point. You know, there's things that I could change, and I bet there's things that the band, if they could remake it now, they would do differently. But if I could have that perfect version of Train of Thought, would I prefer it to the original? Say if it had proper decent album art and not Hugh Symes fucking slop, would I prefer it? Probably not, you know? I think the imperfections and the little things that annoy you about your favourite bits of art are all kind of what bring you in and suck you in, you know? If something was absolutely perfect and you had no qualms with it whatsoever, what would it do to challenge you? What would it do to incite something within you? You know what I mean? It wouldn't help. It wouldn't be interesting to me if I just could see the perfect bit of art. This is why I don't think AI is ever going to be able to create art, because I recognise that as time goes on, AI is going to get better at illustrating, it's going to get better at producing video, more and more realistic, and it's going to get better at creating stories that can appeal to a human emotion. And as time goes on, it will probably be more efficient at delivering impactful emotions and scenarios than a human could ever do. But would I rather efficiency in emotion, or would I rather purity of emotion and some kind of actual artistic expression from a human person? I know what I would prefer. I would prefer something that was imperfect, that I love despite its flaws, and even because of its flaws sometimes, you know? I enjoy the fact that the dream fit of artworks all look a bit shit, and sometimes they have a complete wanky fucking section. I enjoy that with Pink Floyd. Sometimes they have songs that I just think are a bit naff, even though they're my favourite band, you know? I like all of that. I like the fact that even in Shaun of the Dead, there's jokes in there that don't land for me. You know, or in my favourite sitcoms, like in Fawlty Towers, you can see the boom pole in certain things. Would the show be improved if I couldn't see the boom pole? No. It wouldn't be better. It wouldn't, you know, it's something extra to notice. As long as it's not over the top as a problem, you know, because sometimes something can be a fundamental flaw, or it can be so consistent that it starts to annoy you. As long as your problems within your art are part of who you are, or they're interesting to the art itself, or they incite some kind of discussion or some kind of intrigue, I have no problem with it. So with this fantasy world that I've been making, at first I was trying to write all the lyrics to be absolutely perfect. I was looking at all my favourite sort of lyricists and seeing how they take all these big fancy words and put them all together in this beautiful fucking forms of prose. And I thought, no, I'd rather just do the lyrics the way I've always done the lyrics. And if people don't like that, that's fine. They don't have to enjoy my music. There's loads of other musicians out there that they can enjoy instead. You know, I don't particularly like the grunts in death metal, but I do really like the instrumentals in death metal. But you know what? I wouldn't take it without the grunts, you know? And as time's gone on, I've kind of come to appreciate those grunts and those growls and stuff like that. You know, I find the masks in Korn a little bit corny, just like that sort of pun. But would I rather they took all the masks off? No, that's their thing. It's interesting, it's neat, you know what I mean? Say Linkin Park without the DJ that I find a little bit annoying. Would I prefer it? No, you know? I like the little imperfections, or what might not even be imperfections, but just something that doesn't appeal to me, but might appeal to other people, but I just look at it and go, it incites some kind of disagreement within me, and that's okay. And it's totally, totally fine. I think those imperfections in art are beautiful, and I think that is what makes human art human. Because humans aren't perfect. We're all fucking wrong in some way. If you met an absolute perfect person, do you know what people say? There's something weird about that. They just seem too perfect. You ever met someone who smells too good? You know what I mean? I'm not talking about, you know, just basic bathing and shower and all that sort of stuff, you know, putting on deodorant, putting on a bit of aftershave. I'm talking someone who smells so good all the time. It's like, I don't trust it. It's like they're trying to trick me in some way, or try to fool me into thinking that they're a better person than they are through their smell, which is a really easy thing to manipulate, you know? Maybe that's why I don't like it, because it is manipulative. I don't think human beings are designed to be perfect. I don't think they're designed at all, but I certainly don't think that we're made to be perfect. I don't think we should be perfect. I don't think we should be bad. I think we should be flawed, but neat and nice and caring. And as long as we leave the world in a better state than we found it in, there's no harm that's been done. I don't seek perfection out of everybody, you know. And sometimes, you know, I think it's even good. You ever see someone make a mistake, say at work, right? Say you're new to a job and you see someone make a mistake at work, and it almost makes you feel this relief. Because you're like, okay, I'm not the only one that's making mistakes here. Okay, other people make mistakes too. It's all right. I'm okay. It's okay, you know? Or say seeing Ben Affleck having a fag down the side of an alleyway. I like seeing that because it's like, okay, sometimes someone else needs a fag as well. It's not just me. You know what I mean? That's all right. It's nice sometimes when you see someone being a little bit dumb because it makes you feel like, okay, I'm not the only one, you know? Because look, I'm not a particularly intelligent person. I don't claim to be. I'd say I'm about average intelligence, and I'm fine with that. I don't want to be some kind of, you know, perfect being. If I had that opportunity to be offered to me, maybe I'd take it for a week, see if I could challenge this worldview that I've got. But if they said it's all or nothing, absolutely not. No way am I taking that. So, yeah. So I've been working on this band for a little while, working on this fantasy world that's going to be the backdrop to the band, and I think that's going to be what kind of leads people into it. And at first I was trying to write all the lyrics to be all fantasy oriented, but as time's gone on, I've realised if I just write the way that I write and allow things to be metaphorically placed into this world through association of imagery and, you know, metaphor and simile and ideas, that's more interesting to me than trying to literally tell the story and trying to keep it all consistent. Fuck consistency. That doesn't matter in art. What matters is interest and intrigue and challenge, you know. Even, you know, The Only Way is Essex challenges you in a little way. If you don't like it, you're watching it going, oh, fucking hell, I don't like this. I mean, I watched Last One Laughing, LOL, the other day, which is this sort of reality sort of TV show. It's like Big Brother, but with all celebrity comedians, like from Britain. I only recognised David Mitchell, Richard Ayoade, and Bob Mortimer. And then there were a load of others that I had no idea who they were. But the whole point of it is to make sure that you don't laugh, because if you laugh, then you're out. And I was sort of playing along, not laughing, and I was enjoying the challenge of that. You know, I didn't find it to be a particularly funny show, but I could see the humour in it, you know, and I could see why other people would like it. I didn't massively like it, but I enjoyed being challenged in that way, you know. It's like one of my favourite shows at the moment is Red Dwarf, right? But I don't think it's a perfect show. I think if it was a perfect show, I would like it less, ultimately. And I think that's the point that I'm trying to get across with this video, is when I make this album that I want to make, I don't want it to be perfect. I want it to be me. And I'm not perfect, and I don't intend for anything that I make to ever be perfect again. Because I've tried to make stuff be perfect in the past, and it never comes out perfect anyway, and you end up wasting a lot of time and emotional investment into something that ultimately wasn't worth it. So, yeah, that's going to be it from me. I'd say leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you're interested in this band, by the way, email me at officialmorrisonfilms@gmail.com, particularly if you do drumming, if you do bass, if you do keyboards, anything like that, particularly drummers actually, because I'll tell you what, drummers are fucking hard to come by. I was so annoyed because I nearly had a drummer who was like renowned across the city as being like, he turns down everything except prog. He only wants to do prog. And he wanted to do my album, but he moved out of the city. I was like, no, his stuff was so good. He did all the time signature stuff that I was wanting to do. He did all the crazy rhythms. He was brilliant at it, you know? I nearly said he was better than me, and then I realized that kind of gets in the whole way. Like, imperfect thing about me is that I just said something like that, a self-grandiose thing of like, oh wow, I mean, someone would be better at me at something? What a surprise. No, that's not surprising in the slightest. Loads of people are better at me than stuff. I'm better at other people than some stuff, you know what I mean? You know, I usually lost when we were playing FIFA or Call of Duty, but sometimes I'd win, and when I did win, felt good. But if I won every single time, those wins wouldn't feel so good anymore, and people would start to get annoyed. It's like, this fucking guy again. It's like when I was in school. I was in primary school, and the headmaster would come out and do an assembly every week, and every time that we had this Russian kid who, he would always be going to Russia and playing chess tournaments. I know this sounds like such a stereotype, but I swear it's true. And every time, like pretty much every week, the headmaster would come down and he'd get a bit of paper out and he'd go, right, what's a Russian name? Vlad, he's won another bloody chess tournament. Come up, Vlad. He'd be doing this every week. And at first he was like, oh wow, Vlad's won a chess tournament in Russia. And then eventually it was, Vlad's won another chess tournament in Russia. Come on. And then he'd get handed the trophy. And then, you know, Vlad would be there like every time. And everyone would go, yay, chess. We're talking like, you know, 3rd grade. I think that's year 2, 3rd grade. So, you know, I don't know where that guy is now. He's obviously very, very intelligent. He's obviously doing something good with his life. But yeah, if you want to join the band, then please email me at officialmorrisonfilms@gmail.com, particularly if you do drums, but anyone's welcome, because it's going to be the email band sort of thing. I want to send stems back and forth. And if you live in London as well, add that in and we can try and meet up, maybe to book a Pirate Studios or something like that. Or if you have a studio, we can make use of that. You know, I don't have a studio, unfortunately, but I'll bring, you know, equipment and stuff like that for recording. We could, you know, make a little documentary out of it or something like that. Just have some fun with it, you know what I mean? That's the ultimate goal, is to make fun, is to have fun making creative works, particularly set in this fantasy world. And, it, you know, I don't want to be the sole arbiter of this fantasy world. As long as something that doesn't come out complete left field and it sort of fits within the whole thing, definitely, let's have it, you know? And even an imperfection of this video is, it's just rambling on a little bit, like most of these videos. But you know what? I think people would prefer it like that than if everything was absolutely crisp and clean. Say if I just jump cut all the time, I think people would get sick of that. So yeah, that's it from me. Leave your comments below, leave your thoughts about this. What do you think of imperfect art? Do you think art should be perfect? Do you think it shouldn't be? What do you think of the AI argument? And yeah, take care everybody, bye-bye.